market's challenging. With COVID, we've seen staff shortages. A lot of the banks have brought their house team members onshore. Businesses have had record volumes moving forward, which means the demand for quality staff with credit experience has gone through the roof. So to effectively scale your business and get out of what I call the lower dollar productive tasks, the administration tasks, to focus on the more dollar productive activities, now more than ever means we need a strategy in place. And because we can't just put an ad on Seek or in the paper and expect to get quality applicants. We're going to have to come up with a plan, right? We're going to have to really start to map the future and create the business that we want to create in advance and really plan it out. And that's why I wanted to chat today about how we can do that. How can we create that map for you? How can we create that map for the future? Because we can't just put a job out and get the right person. Salaries, for example, are going through the roof. I had someone, looking for someone with a minimum of 2 years credit experience to be a credit analyst. They had a job ad on Seek. They were offering over $100,000 and they got very little bites, right? So for someone looking to grow and scale their business effectively, it makes it difficult, right? It makes it difficult. So we need a better way. We need a better plan to create that future. We also need to create a business where we've got the right people within the right roles. If you look at the role of a mortgage broker, and they've got to have the marketing genius to be able to do the prospecting and to get the right people, to build relationships with referral partners. Then they've got to be able to meet with the client and have those sales skills and have the sales ability to be able to have the conversation and get the buy-in from the client. Once they've got the buy-in from the client, they need to be able to come up with the solution, which you need time and space to come up with that creativity. You need to then have a lot of attention to detail to go through the application. And so it goes on. You need the patience to deal with the banks, and you need a lot of patience to get the client from approval to settlement. So it's no wonder that the one role doesn't fit each of and every task that a mortgage broker has to do. So to really effectively scale our mortgage broking business, we've got to get the right people within the right seats. And once we've got the right people in the right seats, we've got to have a really compelling vision to create a path for them in terms of how to move forward. So rather than just going and picking someone off the shelf, now what do? What's the strategy to get the right people in the right seats? Well, it comes down to a number of things, but it'll more often your plan will be hiring people and developing them in the people that you want them to become, which brings us to the point of you've got to train your people. All right, so you need to train your people. If you look, and I'm a big rugby fan, if you look at one of the best rugby teams in the world, which is the All Blacks, and the reason that they are the best is because they've got the best basic skills. All right, they've got the best their catch, their pass is really, really good. And because they train at a lot higher level and they train on a daily basis, they do stuff outside their team training. They'll do, obviously the weights, the fitness sessions, and everything they need to do to be at that optimum level. Not only do they train, they've got great culture and a great history to their business. So it goes on. But if you look at that compared to the local team, the local team may train once a week or sometimes not at all. You next level up, which is your representative level, they might train twice a week. Right? Then you go up to your Super 12 level, Super 15 at the moment, and they are starting to get pro and they're starting to train at a lot higher level. So, the point around this that I'm making is if you want a team and if you want to build a mortgage broking business with scale, you've got to have a vision for where you want it to go and a plan and a strategy, and you've really got to train your people. So if we look at what that looks like in terms of, let me just bring something up on my screen for those that you are watching it. If you look at this, so sort of you look at this, you can see down the bottom you've got an assistant, which is really a task-based role. Right? Then we look at loan admin, which is more of a process driven role. Then I used to call it a loan partner, which is a skilled-based role. And then you look at a credit analyst, which is a more empowered role. They can do their independent solutions, they can do their loan structuring. Above that, you've got a credit manager who can train and manage, and it's more of a complex sort of role. But when you look at this, you see that there's a hierarchy. You can see that someone can come on board as an assistant and move their way up to a loan admin, then to become a loan partner, and then to be a credit analyst. And there's lots of training that goes in. But what you also see is that the broker's time within the process, as this person moves up the hierarchy and becomes trained, becomes less and less. And so for a broker to scale this business, it's not about doing more. It's about doing less. And I imagine this like a rocket ship, taking off. So when it takes off, it's got all its gear that it needs to get out of gravity and to get to the next levels of atmospheres. But as it goes, it drops that and it becomes, obviously smaller so it can travel faster. So from your point, if you use this analogy within your business, you have to start doing less to get to those higher levels of production and to build that business that ultimately gives you that freedom and scale. So by doing less, it's less of the lower dollar productive tasks and more of the dollar productive tasks. So the dollar productive tasks are more, prospecting, more meeting with clients, more meeting with referral partners, more building better systems and processes and working with your team, doing things like training and development. They're the dollar productive activities that you want to be doing, because that is going to help you to continue to grow and scale your business. So you've got to let go. You've got to simplify. Part of simplifying is getting experts on your team. And for me, the experts, the roles that we had in our business was, so we obviously got the broker. So the broker does the sales, comes up with the solution. Right, then you've got your what we called our loan partner. So the loan partner would take it from the handover from the broker all the way through to the approval, and then we would have a settlements officer that would take it through to approval to settlement. And to me, this three was key. I think nowadays what I'm seeing with a lot of the top brokers that I'm working with, they'll throw in some support, whether that be an offshore support to do some of the admin tasks, to do some of the data entry, to do some of those document collection type tasks, which will help them to really grow and to scale their businesses. So that's how you can sort of look to grow, you can scale, you can look to actually do less within your business. Once you've done that, you need to start to inspect what you expect, all right? You need to, if you're giving tasks to say a low-level admin, and you need to have regular checkups. We used to have a daily stand-up, we called it, every day at 10 a.m. We would do a daily stand-up where we would run through and we'd say, okay, what are the things that you worked on yesterday? What are your key focuses for today? And is there anything that you're stuck with, right? So by doing that, and by doing that on a daily basis, you're understanding exactly what your team's doing. You're understanding what their priorities, what their focuses are, and if they're getting stuck with anything that you've delegated. Because we need to inspect what we expect of our staff. And we need to, if we're providing those training and the processes, we need to ensure that they're being followed within the business. It's really, really key. So if you look at a client, and a client of mine, Paul, he was someone who had a really good business, doing good volumes, but he was still stuck in a lot of the processes. He didn't have that experienced person within his business to be able to take his business to the next level. So he had too many process-driven people and not the level of experience. I see this with a lot of the top brokers. So in that case, he needed to pay the money to get a good credit analyst in. A lot of us can't do this. Obviously, this transformed his business. He was able to double the business that he was writing by getting those key people in the right roles and in the right seats. So what can you do if you're not at that level and you can't afford to pay these high salaries? So what I suggest is you start at the level where you get an admin person on board, but with a view that you're going to grow and train these people to go up the level of hierarchy, to be a loan admin, to be a credit analyst, and then at that point in time, they can potentially be a broker. Otto Dargan came and presented to our team, and he showed that some of his brokers that started in his outsourcing centre in Nepal, his offshoring centre, he likes to call it, in Nepal, ended up moving all the way through those ranks, and they're now out working actually in Australia, and they're writing, some of them are writing over $10 million in business as brokers, right? So it shows that if you provide that career pathway and you approach this with a strategy, you're able to grow a really high performing team. And with this high performing team, this gives you time. It gives you space to be able to, one, write more business. Two, you can spend that time doing the things that you enjoy. Three, you can spend that time with the most important loved ones in your life, with like your family and your friends. Right, so many benefits in terms of growing a business and looking to grow a business with scale. One of the things, once you actually get a staff member on board, and one of the key things in this training piece is that onboarding, is in the first 90 days of the onboarding. So it's really, really key. I break it down into 3 phases. Right, so it's really around defining the purpose is the first stage. It's really about building them is the second stage. And the third phase is really about them doing the role. So it starts with a really good induction. So sharing your vision, sharing your values, going through the office basics, getting them on board with the team, and what the procedures, how the things that the unwritten rules that go on within your business. How do you obviously write them down so they can fit in and they're not going to cause you or your other valuable team members stressing points? So then you really need to define what success looks like for them in their role. They've just coming into your business, they don't understand all the things that you know. And too many people assume that they should know what they're doing. So second part is really painting that picture of what success looks like within the role and what your expectations are. What are their KPIs? What are the things that you need them to do on a daily basis? So for example, a lot of my clients that I'm working with have a number for their approval solutions partners or their credit analysts. They want one loan application out to clients to sign and one submitted every day, which is an example of a KPI. Now, there's other KPIs that they work on, like so they'll want one-touch approvals. So where obviously we know that the lenders make mistakes, but if you can aim for them to have no fault in terms of them putting the packaging the deal together is a great KPI. Other KPIs can be around Google reviews and some other things that you may like to put in. So what are the KPIs? Who do they report to? So there's some of the things around roles and responsibilities. Next, we want to create a development plan for them. What does the first 90 days look like within their business? And this is really, really key. Really define what that first 90 days looks like. Then it's around, as we said, the training. How are they going to learn? How are they going to build those core competencies? Who's going to do that? When is it in the schedule to be able to do that? Because we want them to learn, but then we want them to implement. We want them to implement that on the job. Because what we want them to be at this point is we want them to start becoming independent workers. We don't want them to be micromanaged. We don't want them to be task-based. We want them to be able to do their role. After that, it's around providing those things where they understand what they're going to do and they're going to be accountable for their part of the position. This is really important because too many people have what I call assistants rather than partners within their business. So what you want to create is the roles that you have in your business, they own their parts of the process. For a broker to do less within the role and to create that business of scale, they need someone to take responsibility. For example, if you've got an approval solutions partner, I used to call it, or a credit analyst, you want them to take that responsibility from the handover, once you've come up with a solution, all the way through to approval. So if the client calls or the bank calls, you don't get involved in the process. They can handle it. You've got a process that enables them to be able to take control of that. So that is the 90-day game plan. The other thing that I recommend you do is create that org chart for your business when it's finished. If you want a copy of one that I've done to build a $1 billion business, just comment org chart in the chat or send me an email at contact@rosslacane.com.au and I'll send you a copy of the $1 Billion Broker org chart. So on that org chart, it starts with you up the top. There's a couple of other different roles. So there's a executive assistant or office manager role that's quite key. Other roles on it is your credit manager, which can handle the complex files. They can train your approval solutions partner. We've got the approval solutions partners. We've got the settlements officer. We've got the loan administrators, and then we've got a post-settlement, which provides some key roles in terms of post-settlement and so forth. You've obviously got the broker, you've got potentially a dialer to do some outbound calls, and then we've got some marketing roles as well. So that sort of wraps up who is in that $1 Billion Broker org chart. But as I said, reach out, we've got a details in terms of what each of those roles will actually do. But I think that's key in terms of understanding for you how to grow and to scale your mortgage broking business. So in summary, have a plan. It's difficult to find staff at the moment, so you're going to need to train. Hire for attitude, train for skills. Look to do less, all right? And look to create experts within the roles of your business and get them to take ownership. And I think if you do that, it is possible to create that business that you're proud of, to give you freedom with scale, to give you that abundant cash flow, and to really delight your clients. And that's what we're all about at the $1 Billion Broker. So if you're interested in working alongside of me, I'd love you to reach out and we'll talk to you again soon.